Agnew saw wavering delegates privately one by one in his room, and he is said to be still disappointed, however, that the total isn't higher. Apparently, he would love to take the entire Maryland delegation into the Nixon camp, but there are a few still holding out. Governor Reagan of California is now in a caucus room someplace here in the convention hall, meeting with the Mississippi delegation. John Dancy is outside the caucus room, and perhaps we can get a report from him as to what's going on. John?
Governor Reagan has been in his trailer at the rear of the convention hall since about 6 o'clock this evening for about the past 6 hours. Suddenly, just a few moments ago, the governor's press secretary, Lynn Nofziger, came out, told us that the governor would leave there and come here to the caucus room. The governor is in this room just to my right, and he is awaiting the other members of the Mississippi delegation. Some members of the delegation are already inside. There is a great deal of speculation that the governor is going to ask the members or is going to talk with them about a motion to adjourn. We don't know whether the instigation for this came from the Mississippi delegation or from Governor Reagan. It would obviously benefit Governor Reagan since it would give him another day in which to talk to delegates, try to swing more people to his side, and get more delegate votes. But in any case, that seems to be what is afoot at the moment. The governor is going to talk to the Mississippi delegation. They're going to consider adjournment. We're told that a motion for adjournment is not debatable, and so that would end tonight's session if it is actually made. This is John Dancy, NBC News, outside the caucus room. Now to John Chancellor.
I'm standing in the Mississippi delegation with a member of that delegation, Mr. W.D. Munger of Jackson, Mississippi. How many there are a bunch of you here on the floor. Are these the Nixon delegates in the Mississippi delegation?
No, not necessarily. These are split up in both ways. We have approximately 20 out here. I believe we have 20 on the floor. And we think there are approximately 20 in the meeting.
Now, you're wearing the biggest Nixon button I've seen tonight. But how many total votes could be cast as the last time you checked in the Mississippi delegation for Governor Reagan? Not just counting the bodies, but the votes.
Well, we have 20 votes that can be cast for president from Mississippi, and we have a unique way of voting by allowing our alternate delegates to vote, and then we go vote the unit rule and go by the majority. This morning we had a vote, and 32 out of the 40 votes went for Nixon, 6 went for Governor Reagan, and 2 went for Governor Rockefeller.
So in our vote tallies, for people keeping it at home, the way you stand now is 3 votes for Reagan, the way it's normally computed out of the 20 votes of the Mississippi delegation. Is that right?
Well, that's right, except we vote the unit rule so that the majority controls, and all 20 of our votes go at this time for Nixon. As of this morning, it was 32 out of 40.
Now, Mr. Munger, Governor Reagan has made a rather dramatic attempt here in the early hours of Thursday morning to wean away from the Nixon supporters in this delegation some votes.
Right.
How well do you think he's going to, you know these people in the delegation, how well is he going to do?
Well, he spoke to us once before. He has already appeared before us, and the most votes he got out of that was 6 votes. He's not the only one trying to wean him away, because he and Governor Rockefeller have the same purposes in this, and we have been getting rumors all day long about the vice presidency, most of which were designed to upset the Southern delegates.
We have a story on NBC that says in talking to some Alabama delegates tonight, Governor Reagan said that he now has evidence that Mr. Nixon wants Mark Hatfield of Oregon as his vice president. Have you heard that?
Oh, the rumor has been floating around all day, but we in our delegation, at least I have met with some of the higher people in the Nixon organization, and Senator Thurman has met all the way with Mr. Nixon himself on these issues, and we do not believe, from what we know and understand, that Hatfield would be the vice president.
You don't believe that?
We do not believe it.
You don't believe it. So you don't think, to sum up, some of your people have gone in to give Governor Reagan a hearing in the caucus rooms here in Convention Hall, and you don't think that he's going to get very far with them?
Well, it would be hard for me to see that he could turn around enough delegates when we had a vote of 32 out of 40 to turn them around so that he would have a majority in the delegation.
So as far as we can tell now, you expect Mississippi to stand firm for Nixon?
At this moment, I do. Now, these people that own the floor now will probably go in and meet later with Governor Reagan, and then we will appraise the situation after they all get back out.
Right. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Munger. Mr. W.D. Munger of Jackson, Mississippi, indicating that as far as we can tell here on the floor, Governor Reagan probably won't be too successful with those delegates. Although, Mr. Munger, wouldn't you say that this is, I hate to say 11th hour because it's 1 o'clock in the morning in the East, but this is kind of a dramatic attempt on his part to get support in the South. Well, what would you say about that?
Well, it is certainly dramatic because we've been staying firm all day, and we've been bombarded by a great number of Reagan people and a great number of Rockefeller people, including Bill Miller himself, telling us the same story because they know that it is designed to bother us. Now, most of us in the delegation haven't paid any attention to it because they are really, in our idea, mostly rumors just to upset us. And I have offered to bet several of the people who tell me that it's going to be Hatfield 2-1, and I can't get any takers. And I know the South Carolina delegation has offered to bet them 3-1, and they can't get any takers. So I think the whole thing is designed to upset us, and then Governor Reagan is coming over here to try to capitalize on that, because the only hopes that either he has or Governor Rockefeller is to stop the Nixon voting surge.
That's very interesting. Thank you, Mr. Munger. Very nice. John Chancellor in the Mississippi delegation, now to Sander Van Oker.
Thank you, John. I'm standing here with Governor James Rhodes of Ohio, who's either sitting in the catbird seat or the hot seat tonight. Governor Rhodes, just what do you intend to do? Has there been any change in your plans?
We announced in February that we were an uncommitted delegation. We had the primary in Ohio in May. We said we were uncommitted. We had all the candidates for the nomination in Ohio. We told them we were uncommitted. We came to the convention uncommitted. We shall remain uncommitted, and there will be 55 votes cast for the favored son.
Sir, the presence over here of a best-selling author, Mr. Elia Kazan, who wrote the arrangement, leads me to believe or suggest to you, is it possible what some people are saying, that there's an arrangement between you and Governor Rockefeller?
There's no arrangements between the state of Ohio delegation and any candidate for the nomination.
There's one of Governor Rockefeller's agents sitting right behind here, using the facilities of the Ohio delegation. Does that suggest anything, or is that just a common courtesy?
We have one here for Governor Reagan. We have one here for Richard Nixon. And we have one of our own. And up to the present time, we haven't had to use a hotline yet.
Governor, let me give you a hypothetical example of what's happening with New Jersey. They say over there that if the vote gets to 348 for Nixon, then New Jersey will probably go for him. If, when it gets to Ohio, which comes after New Jersey, it reaches a certain figure, might you reconsider at that point, or are you determined absolutely to go to the end of the roll call?
There will be no reconsideration of the high delegation. They will cast 55 votes for the favored son on the first ballot.
Governor, have you heard any of these rumors that are floating around about a Rockefeller-Reagan attempt to adjourn the convention tonight?
I have not heard that, no.
If that thing were to go to a vote, how would you vote?
I'd have to talk to my delegation.
Thank you very much. Governor Rhodes of Ohio, who is in nomination as the favorite son and says what he has always said, and I'm beginning to believe him, he will go to the end of the first ballot. Thank you, Governor Rhodes. Now back to Chet and David.
As we reported a few minutes ago, Senator Strom Thurmond of South Carolina, the last of the favorite sons, has been put in nomination, and I think there's one more seconding speech, possibly two. And when that is done, then they will begin the voting. And those formally in nomination now are Hickel of Alaska, Winthrop Rockefeller of Arkansas, Governor Ronald Reagan, Senator Hiram Fong, Senator Frank Carlson, Governor George Romney, Senator Clifford Case, Governor Jim Rhodes, Senator Strom Thurmond, Governor Nelson Rockefeller, Richard Nixon, and Harold Stassen. If there's been any talk here on the floor of, say, a Hickel-Stassen ticket or a Thurmond-Fong ticket, we have not heard of it. We'll be back with more of the Republican convention after this word from Gulf Oil.
Hopefully we are in the last seconding speech of the evening, but John Chancellor on the floor of the convention has a report. John?
I have been talking, and am talking again, to Mr. Val J. Washington, a delegate from Chicago, from the Illinois delegation, who is for Rockefeller. Now, you've heard all this talk about the Rockefeller-Reagan forces perhaps trying to seek an adjournment tonight or a long recess. You're a Rockefeller man. How do you feel about it?
Well, I'm against an adjournment, and I'm against adjournment for two reasons. At this stage in the game, if the Republicans aren't ready to choose a delegate, choose a candidate for president, then there isn't any need of prolonging it. Now, the governor of my state, Mr. Oglesby, says we want no adjournment. And I'm working with him, and I have the first row of the first 14 in the row. And I've checked them all, and including the Rockefeller people and the Reagan people, we've agreed that we want to vote tonight.
Now, is this because of the traditional Illinois discipline for a governor, or is this because you feel that way yourself, personally?
Well, it has nothing to do with discipline. Up to a certain point, we've had freedom in our delegation, and there's still good spirit. Everybody's voted for who he wanted. There's been no recriminations or anything else. So I feel that if the Rockefeller people don't have it by now, or the Nixon people don't have it by now, or the Reagan people don't have it by now, let's vote and see who does have it.
You think it'll be one ballot? You're a Rockefeller man, remember?
I hope it's not one ballot. I don't know.
You think that if it goes beyond here, we'll be here all night, Mr. Washington?
All the rest of the night. And by that time, they'll probably pick a whole set of new candidates, and that's what I'm trying to avoid. I think any one of these three men are good enough and will make a good president. I'm satisfied with a lot, so let's not hunt for any more.
You're satisfied with Governor Reagan as well?
No, not as well. I wouldn't say that, but I think he's capable of being elected president. My choice is Rockefeller.
You're a resoundingly loyal Republican, Mr. Washington. Thank you very much.
Okay.
That's Val Washington, a member of the Illinois delegation, a Rockefeller supporter who says that he does represent other sentiment in the Illinois and Middle Western delegations. They're against a recess. Now back to Chet and David.
David, do you have any kind of information?
Well, I have a little story here from NBC News' Mary McAndrew. She has checked with the Rhode Island delegation and talked to Governor John Chafee, who denied this rumor that was going around about trying to get a delay until tomorrow. And Chafee, who backs Governor Rockefeller, said to Miss McAndrew, "We have Nixon so scared now there would be no purpose in a delay." On the rostrum, what did he say? Senator Thurman, the last of the favorite sons, is now coming up to the rostrum to withdraw after their speeches are made.
Very much. Mr. Chairman, distinguished guests, and my fellow Americans, I am deeply grateful and humble for those fine remarks. But I'm going to make you the shortest speech of the convention, not over 1 minute. I am going to withdraw my name for president, and I expect to cast my vote for that world statesman and that great American, Richard M. Nixon. And South Carolina's votes will go with me.
Delegates and alternates, guests of the convention, the chair wishes to express to each and every one of you my deep appreciation for your cooperation, your assistance in helping to move this great convention forward for the purpose of nominating the next president of the United States. At this point,
At this point, there is what is called a musical interlude here. And then after that, the roll call of the states and the balloting will begin. And it's 12 after 1 in Miami Beach. This session started at 5 o'clock. The loudest ovation we have heard lately was for Senator Thurmond of South Carolina when he promised to make the shortest speech of all evening. The delegates have been sitting here now since 5 o'clock, over 8 hours, listening to a series of speeches. And you could get an idea of their mood by their reaction to that. He kept his word. It was a short speech. He said he was going to withdraw and cast his vote for Nixon. Now, we'll be back with the balloting and the rest of tonight's convention after a word from the Gulf Oil Corporation.
One final word, trust it's final, on this rumor about a possible recess for tonight and a tactical move to delay the balloting until tomorrow. Someone asked Joel Broyhill of Virginia if he thought an overnight adjournment would help or hurt the Reagan cause. Broyhill advised continuing the session. He said this long evening of favorite son nominations has been what he called a stupidity simply to satisfy a few egos. And he added, this sort of thing has got to stop at future conventions.
Well, it's too late for this one. It's all been done. 8 hours and 15 minutes of listening to speeches. In most cases, we have 3 candidates, 8 favorite sons, and 1 favorite uncle. Speeches for all of them, and seconding speeches for most of them who were not candidates. To John Chancellor on the floor.
I'm standing here with Senator Edward Brooke. Senator Brooke, you made a remark to me a moment ago which I find highly interesting. I asked you to sum up the situation here before the balloting began, and what did you say to me?
Well, John, I said it's not certain that there will be balloting tonight at this point.
Now, can you explain that to me, Senator?
Well, there seems to be a move in the convention to make a motion for adjournment until tomorrow. And, of course, if that's made and it carries, then we won't have a ballot tonight.
What are the mechanics of this, Senator? Where would that begin?
Well, there would be a motion made from the floor for an adjournment.
You have an idea which state might make it?
Well, I really don't have an idea as to just where it would come from, and it conceivably could be supported by both the Reagan supporters and by the Rockefeller supporters.
So that there are a number of states we can see here that have been committed either to Governor Reagan. California could do it.
Right.
Could Pennsylvania do it as well?
Certainly, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, many of the
delegation could do it?
Could do it, yes.
So that we can look forward to that happening in the next few minutes, you
Well,
expect?
let me say that I don't think that the Rockefeller people will make such a motion. I don't think so. I think we still believe that Nixon does not have enough votes to carry him on the first ballot, despite all of the predictions to the contrary.
Yeah, but Senator, if you start the first ballot, you can't stop it in the middle, can you?
I agree. The motion would have to be made prior to balloting, yes.
So then that would narrow it down, in your view, to the Reagan states, and California would be the leading one of those. Huh?
Conceivably, but I don't want to say that Reagan will be. But let me say to you that there is a possibility, and I think it's rather strong.
What do you feel about it personally, Senator? Would you favor a recess for this evening? Should we all go home?
Well, it's what time now? It's about 1:21, and I'm sure the delegates are rather tired at this moment.
And you also think it would be darn good politics from your point of view to get out of here now, wouldn't it, sir?
Well, I don't know that. I'd be less than candid if I didn't say to you that there's a possibility that it could inure to the benefit of the Rockefeller camp, but I don't think the Rockefeller camp would propose it.
Senator, thank you very much. Senator Edward Brooks suggesting that we may not get to balloting tonight. Here's John Dancy. Thank you very much. Quite interesting.
This is John Dancy outside the caucus room here at Convention Hall. Clark Reed, chairman of the Mississippi delegation, has just come out of a caucus with Governor Reagan. He said Governor Reagan told the Mississippi delegation that if he were elected, if he were nominated, that his choice for a vice presidential candidate would be James Rhodes of Ohio. He said that contrary to earlier reports, there was no discussion of an adjournment tonight by Governor Reagan of California. Mr. Reed once again said that if he was, that the governor told them that if he was nominated, his choice for a vice presidential candidate would be James Rhodes of Ohio. Mr. Rhodes, of course, is very close in view to Governor Reagan. This is John Dancy, NBC News, outside the caucus room here at Convention Hall.
And this is the rostrum. The roll call of the states
Alabama,
for voting is now beginning.
26 votes.
Alabama cast 14 votes for Dick Nixon, 12 votes for Ronald Reagan.
Ask him to repeat it.
Please repeat.
Alabama cast 14 votes for Dick Nixon, 12 votes for Ronald Reagan.
Alaska.
Alaska cast 11 votes for Richard Nixon, the next president of the United States, and 1 vote for Rockefeller.
Arizona.
Arizona casts its 16 votes for the next president of the United States, Dick Nixon.
Arkansas.
Arkansas cast its 18 votes for the Honorable Winthrop Rockefeller.
California.
The state of California proudly casts all of its 86 votes for our great governor, Ronald Reagan.
Colorado.
The great state of colorful Colorado casts 14 votes for Nixon, 3 votes for Rockefeller, and 1 for Reagan.
Connecticut.
Connecticut cast 12 votes for Rockefeller, 4 votes for Nixon.
Delaware.
Delaware casts 9 votes for Nixon and 3 votes for Nelson A. Rockefeller.
The District of Columbia.
The District of Columbia, the nation's capital, proudly cast 6 votes for Richard Nixon, the next president of the United States, and 3 for Rockefeller.
Would you repeat it, please?
Oh, will you repeat that, please?
6 for Nixon and 3 for Rockefeller.
Florida.
Florida, the host state, casts 32 votes for Richard Nixon, 1 vote for Governor Reagan, and 1 vote for Governor Rockefeller.
Which Rockefeller?
Which Rockefeller?
Nelson Rockefeller.
What did he say?
Nelson.
Oh. Georgia.
Mr. Chairman, Georgia cast 2 votes for Governor Rockefeller of New York, 7 votes for Governor Reagan of California, 21 votes for the next president of the United States, Richard Nixon.
Hawaii.
Hawaii, America's youngest and most beautiful state, where east meets west in the spirit of aloha, casts 14 votes for its beloved senior United States Senator, a great statesman, great American, Hiram L. Fong.
Idaho.
Mr. Chairman, Idaho votes 5 votes for Ronald Reagan, 9 votes for Richard Nixon.
Illinois.
Illinois votes 50 votes for Nixon, 5 votes for Nelson Rockefeller, 3 votes for Ronald Reagan.
Indiana.
Indiana casts all of its 26 votes for the next president, Richard Milhouse Nixon.
Iowa
cast 13 votes for Richard Nixon, 8 votes for Nelson Rockefeller, and 3 votes for Dutch Reagan.
Kansas.
Great state of Kansas cast 20 votes for our great American, our favorite son, Senator Frank Carlson.
Kentucky.
Kentucky cast 22 votes for Richard Nixon, 2 votes for Nelson Rockefeller.
Louisiana.
Louisiana cast 19 votes for Richard Nixon, 7 votes for Ronald Reagan.
Maine.
Maine cast 7 votes for its native son, Nelson Rockefeller, and 7 votes for Richard M. Nixon.
Maryland.
Maryland casts 18 votes for Nixon, 8 votes for Rockefeller.
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts casts 34 votes for Governor Rockefeller.
34. Yeah, all 34. Michigan.
Michigan casts 44 votes for their favorite son, a great American, George Romney, and 4 votes for Richard Nixon.
Minnesota.
Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes, cast 15 votes for Rockefeller, 9 votes for Nixon, 1 vote for Harold Stassen, 1 vote for John Lindsay.
Mississippi.
Mississippi cast 20 votes for Richard Nixon.
Missouri.
Mr. Chairman, Missouri cast 16 votes for Richard M. Nixon, 5 votes for Governor Nelson Rockefeller, 3 votes for Governor Ronald Reagan.
Montana.
Madam Chairman, Montana casts 11 votes for Richard Nixon and 3 votes for Ronald Reagan.
Nebraska.
Mr. Chairman, Nebraska casts all of its 16 votes for Richard Nixon.
Nevada.
Madam Chairman, Nevada casts 9 votes for Mr. Nixon, 3 votes for Governor Rockefeller.
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire delegation, the first to be chosen to this convention in a great victory for the next President of the United States, is proud to cast its 8 votes for Richard M. Nixon.
New Jersey.
Mr. Chairman, New Jersey requests that its delegation be polled.
Oh, they want to be polled. New Jersey. New Jersey.
Would the delegate from New Jersey indicate his name who is seeking a poll of the delegation?
The state has not polled its own delegation. It would like that done by the chair, by the clerk.
So you'd have to give the name.
The chair will quote the rule which is Rule 18,
That's Senator Case. There are 40
which
votes.
reads as follows, 18A. In the balloting, the vote of each state shall be announced by the chairman of the respective delegations, and in the case the vote of any state shall be divided, the chairman shall announce the number of votes for each candidate, or for or against any proposition. But if exception is taken by any delegate to the correctness of such announcement by the chairman of his delegation, the chairman of the convention shall direct the roll of the members of such delegation to be called, and the result shall be recorded in accordance with the vote of the several delegates in each such delegation. On this, I ask the reading clerk to call the roll of the delegation.
I'll let Joe Farmer call.
wish I could get
Delegate Clifford P. Case.
Case.
Delegate Clifford P. Case.
One vote for Case.
One vote for Case. Delegate Webster B. Todd.
One vote for Case.
One vote for Case. Delegate Mrs. Ann D. Flynn.
One vote for Case.
One vote for Case. Delegate Leslie L. Blair.
Leslie Blau proudly casts his vote for the great senator from New Jersey, Clifford P. Case.
One vote for Case. Delegate C. Douglas Dillon.
Case.
One vote for Case. Delegate Frank S. Farley.
One vote for Richard Nixon.
One vote for Nixon. Delegate Edwin B. Forsyth.
Case.
One vote for Case. Delegate Nelson G. Gross.
Mr. Nixon.
One vote for Nixon. Delegate Philip B. Hoffman.
One vote for Case.
One vote for Case.
By our records here, it looks as if
Delegate J. Russell Woolley.
One vote for
make it
Nixon.
on the first ballot.
One vote for Nixon. Delegate Harold C. Thompson.
One vote for Case.
One vote for Case. Delegate K.N. MacDonald.
One vote for Richard Nixon.
One vote for Nixon. Delegate Charles W. Sandman, Jr.
One vote for Clifford Case.
One vote for Case. Delegate John J. Spoltor. One vote for Case. One vote for Case.
Third district.
So listed here. Delegate Richard R. Stout.
One vote for Nixon.
One vote for Nixon. Delegate Robert C. Stanley.
One vote for Case.
One vote for Case. Delegate George B. Harper.
One vote for Richard Nixon.
One vote for Nixon. Delegate Anton J. Holland Donner, Jr.
One vote for Senator Clifford Case.
One vote for Case. Delegate Peter H. B. Frelinghuysen, Jr.
An enthusiastic vote for Senator Case.
One vote for Case. Delegate Raymond H. Bateman.
One vote for Clifford Case.
One vote for Case. Delegate William T. Herling.
I am proud to cast my vote for Richard Nixon.
One vote for Nixon. Delegate John E. Demon.
One vote for Case.
One vote for Case. Delegate Mrs. Eleanor S. Nisley.
Nixon.
One vote for Nixon. Delegate William B. Widnall.
He'll be right here.
Richard Nixon. One vote for Nixon. Delegate Frank Davenport.
One vote for Nixon.
One vote for Nixon. Delegate Lawrence F. Kramer.
Another vote for Case.
One vote for Case. Delegate David Van Alstyne.
One vote for Mr. Nixon.
One vote for Nixon. Delegate William J. Dorgan.
One vote for Richard M. Nixon.
One vote for Nixon. Delegate John D. Blondell.
One vote for Case.
One vote for Case. Delegate Michael A. Guiliano.
One vote for Case.
One vote for Case. Delegate Edmund T. Hume.
One vote for Case.
One vote for Case. Delegate C. Stuart Hausman.
One vote for Senator Case.
One vote for Case. Delegate Donald J. Ludwig.
I proudly cast my vote for Richard Nixon.
One vote for Nixon. Delegate Gilbert G. Rosner.
Senator Clifford Case.
One vote for Case. Delegate Frank Scott Jr.
One vote for Case.
One vote for Case. Delegate Henry Königsberg.
One vote for Nixon.
One vote for Nixon. Delegate Joseph J. Gialdini. One vote Nixon. One vote for Nixon. Delegate John B. Thurer.
Mr. Thurer is absent. Mr. Jensen will vote in his...
Alternate Delegate George Jensen.
Richard Nixon.
One vote for Nixon. Delegate John P. Gallagher.
Nixon.
One vote for Nixon. Delegate Robert F. Linchesky.
The youngest delegate of the New Jersey delegation cast its vote for the next President of the United States, Richard Nixon.
One vote for Nixon.
While the tally clerks are tallying up the result, the chair requests that Manny Harmon and his orchestra play for the convention.
Well, while Manny Harmon plays a musical interlude, let's go down to the floor to John Chancellor, who is talking to Senator Case of New Jersey. John?
Senator, what's the tally as you make it? I got 18 votes for Nixon in your delegation.
I think that's right. My counting hasn't been as sharp, perhaps, as yours, but I think that's the right figure.
And 22 for you.
That's the whole count. That would be 22. That's right.
I don't know if they can see you. I wonder if this gentleman would mind moving just a second. Senator, how do you feel about it? You had trouble all evening long, didn't you?
No, not indeed. Trouble exactly. The delegation has been in the center of much interest in the last several days, and particularly the last 2 days. And Mr. Nixon has been very active in pursuing New Jersey delegates. My guess is that the chief argument in respect of at least, I should say about 8 or 10 of these delegates who voted for him, in some respects, in most respects, a change from their previous position was a fear that Mr. Nixon was the overwhelming victor, and they wanted to cast a vote for him before the victory had become final. I think that's really what it was.
One of your delegates told NBC earlier tonight that the Nixon people told them that they would have 384 votes by the time New Hampshire voted. They only had 354 at that point. But you still think they feel that they had a winner on their hands and they went for him. Is that your judgment?
Well, you'll have to ask them, of course, individually. But I think that that accounts for the large majority of the votes, yes.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now back to Chet and David.
8 votes for former Vice President Nixon, 5 votes for Governor Reagan, and 1 vote for Governor Nelson Rockefeller.
New York.
The Empire State of New York cast 4 votes for Richard M. Nixon and 88 votes for Nelson A. Rockefeller, the next President of the United States.
North Carolina.
State of North Carolina cast 16 votes for Governor Ronald Reagan, 9 votes for Richard Nixon, 1 vote for Nelson Rockefeller.
North Dakota.
North Dakota votes 2 votes for Nelson Rockefeller, 5 votes for Richard Nixon, 1 vote for Reagan.
Ohio.
The wonderful world of Ohio casts 2 votes by Stassen pledge delegates for Harold Stassen. 1 vote, correction. 1 vote by a Stassen pledge delegate for Harold Stassen. 2 votes by Ashbrook pledge delegates for Richard Nixon. 55 votes for the favorite son of Ohio, the distinguished Governor James A. Rhodes.
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma casts 14 votes for Dick Nixon, 1 vote for Governor Rockefeller, and 7 votes for Governor Reagan.
Oregon.
Oregon cast 18 votes for Richard Nixon.
Pennsylvania.
The great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania casts 41 votes for Nelson A. Rockefeller, 22 votes for Richard Nixon, and 1 vote for Ronald Reagan.
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, the next state of the Union, State 51, cast its 5 votes for Governor Nelson Rockefeller.
Rhode Island.
State of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations cast 14 votes for Nelson A. Rockefeller.
South Carolina.
South Carolina, home of that great American, Strom Thurmond, cast 22 votes for the next President of the United States, Richard Nixon.
South Dakota.
South Dakota cast its entire 14 votes for Dick Nixon.
Tennessee.
Tennessee cast 28 votes for Richard Nixon.
Texas.
Texas cast 15 votes for Ronald Reagan, 41 votes for Richard Nixon.
Utah.
Madam Chairman, Utah cast 2 votes for Richard Nixon, 6 votes for George Romney.
Vermont.
Vermont, the Green Mountain State, cast 9 votes for Richard Nixon, 3 votes for Nelson Rockefeller.
Virginia.
Mr. Chairman, we have a request to poll the delegation.
Oh, that's 24 votes in Virginia.
The convention will be in order. Under Rule 18, the clerk of the convention will call the roll of the delegation of the state of Virginia.
While you're watching our scorecard, it takes 667 to win.
Delegate I. Lee Potter.
Come on up, please. Just a minute, we'll get him here.
Nixon. 1 vote for Nixon. Delegate Leonard Hall.
One vote for Nixon.
1 vote for Nixon. Delegate Donald E. Ehrman.
1 vote for Nixon.
1 vote for Nixon. Delegate A. Linwood Holton.
1 vote for Nixon.
1 vote for Nixon.
By what might be called sort of a snap
Delegate
tally
Stephen
and a
Montague.
off the top of the head
1 vote for
projection, it
Nixon.
looks as though the vote
1
of
vote for
Wisconsin
Nixon.
may be the crucial one
Delegate William
and
T. Knox.
potentially could
1
put
vote
Richard
for Nixon.
Nixon over the
1 vote for
667
Nixon.
required to nominate.
Delegate Wayne Lustig.
1 vote for the Honorable Nelson Rockefeller.
1 vote for Rockefeller. Delegate Robert G. Dumar.
1 vote for Nixon.
1 vote for Nixon. Delegate Arthur S. Brinkley, Jr.
1 vote for Nixon.
1 vote for Nixon. Delegate Mrs. Alice C. Lynch.
1 vote for Nixon.
1 vote for Nixon. Delegate D. Dorch Warringer.
1 vote for Richard Nixon.
1 vote for Nixon. Delegate Mrs. Martha B. Powell.
1 vote for Richard Nixon.
1 vote for Nixon. Delegate Thomas J. Carlton.
Richard Nixon.
1 vote for Nixon. Delegate T. George Vaughn, Jr.
Proud vote for Dick Nixon.
1 vote for Nixon. Delegate Richard H. Pop.
1 vote for Mr. Nixon.
1 vote for Nixon. Delegate D. Henry Almond.
1 vote for Nixon.
1 vote for Nixon. Delegate Warren B. French, Jr.
1 vote for Nixon.
1 vote for Nixon. Delegate Mrs. G.O. Pendergrast.
Bearing the initials Mrs. G.O.P., I proudly cast my vote for Richard M. Nixon.
1 vote for Nixon. Delegate Jack L. Middleton.
1 vote for Nixon.
1 vote for Nixon. Delegate William L. Scott.
1 vote for Nixon.
1 vote for Nixon. Delegate Glenn M. Williams.
1 vote for Nixon.
1 vote for Nixon. Delegate Douglas Hess.
The youngest delegate of the Virginia delegation proudly cast his vote for next President of the United States, Richard Nixon.
1 vote for Nixon. Delegate Joel T. Broyhill.
1 vote for Nixon.
1 vote for Nixon. Delegate Mrs. C.B. Newman.
My vote goes for Nelson Rockefeller.
1 vote for Nelson Rockefeller.
The result of the poll of the delegation from the state of Virginia, 22 for Nixon, 2 for Nelson Rockefeller.
The Virgin Islands.
Madam Chairman, the Virgin Islands, the southeasternmost real estate under the American flag, Caribbean vacation land and home of the world record Blue Marlin, cast 1 vote for Rockefeller and 2 for Nixon.
Washington.
Madam Chairman, Washington cast 14 votes for Nixon.
Washington. Just said 14 for.
Madam Chairman, the Virgin Islands wishes to be polled.
A convention will be in order. A poll has been requested for the Virgin Islands. The clerk of the convention will call the roll of the delegates of the Virgin Islands.
Delegate Omar Brown.
I cast my 1 vote for Governor Rockefeller.
Delegate Omar Brown. Would you please designate which Governor Rockefeller?
Governor Nelson Rockefeller of New York.
Thank you, sir. Delegate Philip C. Clark.
Under our caucus agreement, 1 vote for Nixon.
1 vote for Nixon. Delegate Charles R. Sent.
I am proud to vote for Richard Nixon, the next President of these United States.
1 vote for Nixon.
The tally of the vote on the poll of the delegation from the Virgin Islands, 2 votes for Nixon, 1 vote for Nelson Rockefeller. The Secretary will proceed with the call of the roll of the states.
Washington.
Madam Chairman, Washington cast 15 votes for Richard Nixon, 6 votes for Ronald Reagan, 3 votes for Nelson Rockefeller.
West Virginia.
Mr. Chairman, West Virginia cast 11 votes for Nixon, 3 votes for Governor Nelson Rockefeller.
Wisconsin.
To cast its 30 votes for the nominee of this convention, Richard M. Nixon.
Well, that does it. There it is.
Nixon is the nominee. Ed Newman is down there. Let's hear from him. Ed?
Wisconsin makes the decision. We were one of the early primaries, and we knew all the way through it would be Dick Nixon.
Governor Knowles, were you saying you knew it all the time that it was going to be Wisconsin?
The first vote. This is what I've been saying all the way through the convention.
Governor, were you nervous when you got up there?
No.
Well, it looked to me for a minute as though you didn't realize they'd called you.
No. Couldn't hear.
Got a whole firm because they're pushing pretty hard.
Well, actually,
when did you know it was going to be Wisconsin that would go?
Well, we figured this for some time. As the tolls came in, a total was predicted as 683. And as a result, we figured that Wisconsin would have the privilege of making the decision of this convention and naming the next nominee.
When did you know tonight?
We followed it through and believe that the total has been pretty well known and established by the news media, and it was actually 683.
Where are you going, Governor? Governor, could you just tell us how you feel about the fact that it was Wisconsin that did it?
Well, Wisconsin's votes have all gone to Richard Nixon.
Wyoming cast 12 for Nixon.
Primary. And since we came here with confidence that Nixon would be nominated on the first ballot.
You are running. This is Edwin Newman on the floor. Back to you, Davis.
Will the convention please be in order? In the meantime, the tally clerks will total the ballots cast for all of the candidates.
We'll go inside this convention hall. We'll undoubtedly make a
That's Governor Reagan outside the hall
of all the delegates here, as he has many times
don't know where
before.
He's going.
This is John Dancy outside the convention hall.
After this musical interlude and when order has been resumed, someone could very well make a motion that the choice of the nominee be made unanimous. This is the Nixon headquarters, by the way.
Under the
headquarters hotel.
rules of this convention.
Back to the podium. Is asking if any delegations wish to change their vote votes. Minnesota apparently does.
Changes its vote to 26 for Mr. Nixon.
Minnesota cast 26 votes for Richard Nixon.
This is
Chair recognizes
essentially
the
a formality
state of
now.
Missouri.
Nixon is nominated.
Mr. Chairman, the state of Missouri is happy to cast 24 votes for the greatest American of this generation and pledge 12 electoral votes to him in November, Richard Nixon.
Missouri cast 24 votes for Richard Nixon. Chair recognizes the state of Washington.
Mr. Chairman.
This is going to continue. Delegation after delegation will probably now ask that its vote be changed until it's made virtually unanimous. But let's go down to the floor and to Edwin Newman.
This is Edwin Newman on the floor. Governor Knowles has been trying to get through to Richard Nixon. Did you succeed, Governor?
There's somebody busy signal.
You got a busy signal. But what, didn't you get instructions to call Richard Nixon?
Glenn Davis.
Representative Glenn Davis, the word to call Richard Nixon, but when you called, the line was busy.
That's correct, Ed.
Going to try again, sir?
We're trying again.
Well,
right
they're trying again right now.
Dying gasp of our communication system. We're going to close it up now. The job is done.
You're going to close what up?
The communication system.
Well, let's see what happens. You call again. Another call attempt to go through to Mr. Nixon by Governor Knowles of Wisconsin, who cast the votes that put Governor Nixon over the top. Here he goes.
This is Warren Knowles, Dick. All right. This is Governor Knowles, Dick, and I'm I certainly will, and we are with you all the way, Dick. We congratulate you on your nomination, and we'll look forward to working with you and for you in the next President of the United States. We were also very pleased to be able to put you over the top. Okay. Thank you, Dick. You bet I certainly will. Good luck, and thanks for all of it.
What did he say, Governor?
Said he was very pleased that a primary state like Wisconsin had the opportunity of giving the necessary to a choice. That he was particularly pleased that Wisconsin gave him the 30 votes necessary to make the decision.
Governor Knowles describing his telephone conversation with Richard Nixon after Wisconsin cast the vote that put Nixon over the top. This is Edwin Newman. Back to Chet and David.
They're changing votes now, which again is largely a formality, but before any vote changing began, it was 692 votes for Nixon.
Nomination of president or vice president.
Reagan, Governor Reagan is back behind the platform, out of sight at the moment, waiting to come on.
Shall announce the question to be.
You can see him there. It's a little dark where he is standing, but you can see him there, just under that curtain.
There is no provision in the rules for anyone to move to the platform and be recognized at this time. The chair recognizes the chairman from the state of Michigan.
Mr. Chairman, the state of Michigan casts 48 votes for Richard Nixon, and we will do everything we can to bring about the needed national, state, and local Republican victories this year.
I'm sorry. Okay. Michigan casts 48 votes for Richard.
Mr. Chairman, the state of New York moves that the vote be made unanimous.
Chair recognizes the delegation from Pennsylvania.
Chairman, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania cast 64 votes for Richard M. Nixon.
64 votes for Nixon from Pennsylvania. Montana.
Montana cast 14 votes for Richard Nixon.
Montana, 14 votes for Nixon. Hawaii.
Mr. Chairman, Hawaii cast its 14 votes for Richard Nixon.
Hawaii cast 14 votes for Richard Nixon. Rhode Island.
Rhode Island cast its 14 votes for Richard M. Nixon.
Rhode Island, 14 votes for Nixon. Alabama.
Alabama cast 26 votes for Dick Nixon.
Delaware. Delaware.
Mr. Chairman, Delaware cast 1 vote for Nelson Rockefeller and 11 votes for Richard Nixon.
Sandy Van Oker on the floor has a report for us. Sandy?
I'm down here in the Michigan delegation, where there's a kind of an anticlimactic drama going on here. A man from the Rockefeller camp, Murray Gart, who used to work for Time Life and took a leave of absence to work for Rockefeller, got Governor Rockefeller, I believe, on the phone, and Governor Romney is talking to him on this phone. Now, what they're saying, I don't know. I asked before the phone call was made, was Governor Romney going to go to the podium, because he is a favorite son candidate, and urged that the nomination of Richard Nixon be made unanimous. He told me at the time, no, he thought that was something that both Rockefeller and Reagan should do, because it would be more seemly for them to do it than for him. Now there's a discussion going on. I assume that he is on the phone to Nelson Rockefeller. I don't know it. I know that one of Rockefeller's lieutenants is down here. He made the phone call and then put Governor Romney on the phone. He's in conversation now. Maybe Governor Rockefeller or one of Governor Rockefeller's lieutenants wants Governor Romney to do something here in the form of urging party unity or something like that. I don't know. I think that's what's going on here, and that's all I can tell you at this time.
Arkansas cast its 18 votes for Dick Nixon.
Arkansas, 18 for Nixon. New Mexico.
The state of New Mexico proudly casts its 14 votes for Richard Nixon.
New Mexico, 14 for Nixon. Kansas.
Kansas cast 19 votes for Richard Nixon, 1 vote for Nelson Rockefeller.
Kansas votes 19 for Nixon, 1 for Rockefeller. Nevada.
We believe Governor there on the phone is talking to Governor Rockefeller.
Nevada, 12 for Nixon.
When he finishes, we'll try to find out what what was said.
Alaska's proud to cast its 12 votes for Richard Nixon.
Alaska, 12 votes for Richard Nixon.
Maybe a phone number where Governor can be
Virginia.
reached hereafter.
Virginia cast 24 votes for Richard Nixon.
Virginia, 24 votes for Nixon. North Dakota.
Nixon, before they started changing votes,
Cast 8 votes
Nixon made it on the first ballot with 25 votes to spare.
Connecticut cast 16 votes for Richard Nixon.
Connecticut, 16 votes for Nixon. Colorado.
Chairman,
Romney has hung up the phone. Sandy Van Oker is
the
there.
next
Sandy?
President Richard Nixon.
All I have to report in this continuing drama is that Governor Romney wrote down one phone number and he's calling another. That's all I can say, and so we'll just wait. He's calling. Would you say that, Governor?
I'm calling Mr. Nixon, trying to get him.
Who did you just talk to a moment ago, sir?
Governor Rockefeller.
You're trying to get Mr. Nixon right now?
I'm trying now to get him.
You just heard the governor say he had talked to Governor Rockefeller and he was trying to get Mr. Nixon. He wrote down a phone number and he's trying to get Mr. Nixon at this time.
Dick, heartiest congratulations. Well, I thought... Right there.
Chairman, Louisiana.
Stacey went Republican in 1964, will again this year, cast 26 votes for Richard Nixon.
Well, I think you were very wise in the policy you pursued with respect to Michigan. And I thought you did a superb job in your press conference yesterday. I watched it on TV, and I thought you did a superb job. Oh, no, I'm an amateur. But I really congratulate you, and certainly we'll do all we can. You betcha. Goodbye.
Governor Romney, could you tell us what Mr. Nixon said to you when you called him?
No, you'll have to ask him.
Well, we didn't have a two-way on this, but did you talk to Governor Rockefeller before?
Yes, I talked to him, and then I talked to Mr. Nixon.
Has Governor Rockefeller called Mr. Nixon?
Yes, he has. He said he had just finished talking with him, and I asked him for his number so I could get him immediately, and he gave me his number, and I then called him.
Has Mr. Nixon invited you to come and meet with him for a little discussion tonight or tomorrow morning?
No.
How did Governor Romney sound? This is Governor Romney.
This is Governor Romney.
How did Mr. Nixon sound?
Well, he sounded very pleased and calm and cool.
What did you mean when you said that he handled the Michigan delegation just right?
Well, he took the position that he didn't want the Michigan delegation to do anything other than what would be best in terms of the election in November. In other words, he never put any pressure on the Michigan delegation.
This is the impression we've had around this convention, that he has not put pressure on delegations.
Well, he didn't put any on the Michigan delegation.
And what did you mean about the news conference? You thought he handled what just right?
Yesterday's news conference, I happened to see it on TV yesterday morning, following your Today show, and I thought he did an expert job. I really thought he was outstanding on that television show.
Thank you very much, Governor.
Governor, you had indicated some interest in the Vice Presidency.
No, I never have.
Well, you had said you didn't know whether you would take
Well, that's not indicating interest. I have indicated very clearly that I was not a candidate.
Thank you very much, Governor Romney. Just to recapitulate, that was Governor Romney who placed a call to Governor Rockefeller, got a number where he could call Mr. Nixon. He called Mr. Nixon. He congratulated Mr. Nixon, said he had handled the Michigan delegation just right. He hadn't put any pressure on him. Governor Romney said he didn't have an invitation to meet with Mr. Nixon. That'll probably come tomorrow in the great Feast of Unity that I suppose will take place. Governor Romney of Michigan talking to Governor Rockefeller and to the nominee of the Republican Party, Richard Nixon. This is Sander Van Oker at the Michigan delegation. Now back to Chet and Daly.
Sandy, can you hear me?
Yes, David.
How about the meeting tonight to talk about the vice presidency?
David, all I know is that John Tower told me earlier in the evening. I'm just wandering around. I don't know where I am. Let me see if I can get on a camera if you need
You've
me.
been here a long time.
Okay. I'm standing in the middle of the Ohio delegation. And earlier this evening, John Tower told me that he assumed there would be a meeting sometime tonight. He didn't tell me whether he had been invited. One of the people, I think it was John Chancellor, was told by Strom Thurmond that he was going to a meeting.
He was invited. Carl Munt
is going, and this is the normal thing.
But George Romney is not.
Well, that's what he said. That doesn't mean he won't be invited later. I don't think he would be invited. After all, he has to see the people, Mr. Nixon, who are supporters of his. And indeed, he is not obliged to do what they want him to do, but courtesy demands that he simply go ahead and listen to their views. I think that's all that they really want. And I do believe, from what I've heard around this floor, from Southerners especially, that while they have strong and pointed views about the matter, they do believe that Mr. Nixon should be allowed to choose his own vice president. And I don't think he'd have it any other way. Here's Governor Reagan.
Governor Reagan has just appeared on the roster. Came in from his trailer out back.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, fellow delegates, fellow Republicans, we're gathered here with one common bond uniting us, and that is the knowledge that this great nation cannot stand or survive 4 more years of the policies that have been guiding us for too many of the recent years. Therefore, because the only vehicle in the great two-party system with the potential to replace the leadership now in Washington is the Republican Party, I hereby and proudly move on behalf of my fellow Californians that this convention declare itself as unanimously and united behind the candidate Richard Nixon as the next President of the United States, and I so move.
A similar motion from New York was ignored a little while ago. See what happens to this one.
The chair, the delegates, the alternates, the guests, I'm sure, are deeply grateful for the action taken by Governor Ronald Reagan. Let us show our appreciation for his appearance and for his action. The chair now appoints the following committee to notify Richard M. Nixon of his nomination for President of the United States. The committee is as follows. Senator Carl Munt of the state of South Dakota. Representative John Burns of the state of Wisconsin. Representative John Rhodes of the state of Arizona.
Governor Rockefeller at his headquarters, the Americana Hotel.
Nice to be back with you all again and to have a chance to congratulate former Vice President Richard Nixon on his spectacular success in carrying the convention here and getting the nomination of the Republican Party. I've called him on the phone to congratulate him personally and wish him all the success in winning the election in November. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank those who are here present, Happy, the family, who've stood by and been such tremendous help all through this campaign, to all those who have worked with me in the campaign, and to all of you who are here in this room who traveled representing the media. You've been terrific. You've taken a lot of long, hard days, but I'd just like to say that I think that every minute of it has been worthwhile in terms of the future of this country, and I hope it'll be useful to the party and to the country in the days that lie ahead.
Governor Rockefeller, sir, how do you account now for this disparity between what you were anticipating or predicting as recently as 4 o'clock and what actually happened?
It looks like it didn't count properly before instead of now. I think that there was slippage during the course of the evening. I ran about 75 votes short of what I thought I was going to get. Mr. Reagan ran about 100 short of what, shall I say, I hoped he was going to get. And that's the ball game.
Will you work? Foreclose the possibility of joining Mr. Nixon somehow on the ticket, even though you are both of New York State, some accommodation with a few people?
I don't know what you mean by an accommodation. I just finished. Are you talking about a spot on the ticket? Don't spend the time.
Governor Rockefeller, could you tell us what the content of your conversation with Mr. Nixon, especially what Mr. Nixon told you in your phone conversation?
Well, I congratulated him, wished him the best of luck in the campaign, and he expressed appreciation for the spirit in which the campaign had been conducted during the past 3 months that I've been in it. Stated he thought it was very helpful in terms of discussing the issues and opening up thinking on the key subjects before the American people.
Did he specifically ask you for any help in the campaign?
Well, not in terms of what's already been suggested. Help in terms of the campaign looking into the future. We'd get together. He's headed for California, I'm headed for Maine.
Governor, do you plan to work for the Nixon ticket this fall, campaign for
I said I'd support whoever was the nominee of the convention.
Will you campaign for him, sir?
You don't support somebody unless you campaign.
Governor, did he indicate, did Mr. Nixon indicate he would consult you at all on his choice for the vice presidency?
No, I asked him if he'd made his decision. He said he had not. And it seemed to me that was his responsibility, not mine.
Governor,
Sir.
this is a rather tough question, but I want to...
It won't be a tough answer.
You've tried for the presidency more than once now, and you failed. And I wonder what your personal feelings are about what's happened and about your future.
Well, I really wasn't worrying much about my future. As little Nelson said, Daddy, if you don't win, he said, we can play together more. I think that's the answer right there.
Governor, that you might ever run for the presidency again?
Well, I'll tell you, 4 years ago I said I wouldn't, and here I've just finished doing it. I've stopped making predictions.
Governor, do you think anything solid came out of this grinding campaign that you've done? That is for the party.
How do you define something solid?
Well, I mean, for example, the platform. Do you think the platform has been different because you came into the race? Do you think that there will be a different thrust to the campaign because you came in, or do you think this will all be lost?
No, I think that you're nice to mention it. I think, frankly, that the platform, when you listen to the permanent chairman's speech, Jerry Ford's speech, that the work of the last 10 years and 3 attempts to get the nomination of the Republican Party for the presidency have left their mark on the thinking of the party. And I was very pleased with the platform and very pleased with the speech which Jerry Ford made. I thought that showed an awareness of what's going on in this country and the world that is going to be tremendously important for the Republican Party.
How do you view the future of the party now?
Well, having just made predictions for the last 2 or 3 months, culminating in this afternoon, I don't think I'm going to make any predictions, but I think it ought to be bright.
Governor, you said in Cincinnati that Mr. Nixon could not win the election this year. How do you feel about that now?
Did I say that?
Yes, sir, you did.
Do you think it'll come back to haunt us? I hope not.
Governor, if you could do your campaign all over again, what would you do differently?
Do it exactly the same.
Would you have waited as long? Do you regret now not entering the primary?
have had the same team together and taken the same positions on the issues. I think they were the sound positions and the constructive ones, and a wonderful group of people working together.
Governor, why do you think you lost?
Have you ever been to a Republican convention?
Do you think it was an ideological thing?
No.
Or do you think that too many of them didn't forgive you for 1963?
No, I think that this convention genuinely prefers Dick Nixon. And I think this is true for the leadership of the party.
Governor, it's a
Simple as that.
Governor, was a tradition on the eve of, or in the week before a convention, before balloting, for the candidates to say they're going to win. I suppose they can't very well go into the balloting saying otherwise. I wonder if you'd be willing to tell us to what degree that tactical necessity, and to what degree real deep-seated conviction played a part in your statement.
No, I really thought I was going to win. I had faith. I feel it was the right thing for the country and the right thing for the party, and I'm one of those people who operate on the basis of faith. Simple as that.
Do you have any intention to go to the convention tonight or tomorrow night?
Well, I'm not going tonight. What happens tomorrow, we'll deal with tomorrow.
Governor, there have been a number of stories written over the years about family wealth, family fortune. Stories have been titled, "What Makes Rocky Run?" Do you have any new thoughts on the subject? Why you decided to run again? What brought you in?
No new thoughts, very simple ones, exactly what I've said. I didn't want to get into it, I didn't plan to get into it. When the circumstances developed as they did, when President Johnson dropped out, when the Reverend Martin Luther King was assassinated, when he had riots in the cities, I felt the problems facing this nation at home and abroad were so serious, and that I had spent 22 years in public service, national, international, state, local, that I had no right not to make available what experience I had for the use of the party in the country. And this is the sole reason I came in.
Governor, from an ideological standpoint, what kind of a vice president would you like Dick Nixon to choose?
But believe me, that is his responsibility.
Governor, if he should ask you for your recommendation, would you be prepared to make one on the vice presidency?
He's been asking everybody else, so he ought to be pretty well up on it now.
Governor, what state hurt you the most in the roll call tonight? Was it the defection from New Jersey, do you think, or was it all?
The erosion was the wrong way.
Governor, now that the campaign is over, have you any announcement, or can you give us any timetable when you will make an announcement regarding the senator from New York that you're going to appoint?
Almost forgotten that. Thanks for reminding me.
Thank you, Governor.
It's a pleasure. And thanks to all of you for what you've done. Great. Thanks. Dick, you're terrific. Thank you all. You fellas have just been wonderful, believe me.
Richard Nixon is standing by in his hotel for a press conference, and he's been watching the television waiting for Governor Rockefeller to finish so he could start his. Herbert Kaplow of NBC is in the room with him.
30 seconds intro.
The Nixon family has gathered here on the 15th floor of the Hilton Plaza Hotel in Miami Beach, just about 40 minutes after Mr. Nixon was nominated, with a vote being put over by the state of Wisconsin. Gathered with Mr. Nixon are his wife, his two daughters, and David Eisenhower, who is engaged to his younger daughter, Julie Nixon.
We're about ready to begin the interview here in the Nixon family.
There are several reporters gathered here waiting to hear the first reactions of Mr. Nixon having been nominated for the second time as the Republican candidate for the presidency.
Mr. Nixon, what is your feeling now, having won this victory?
My feeling first is one of great gratitude to all of those who helped me win it. This is one of those years when I've felt that I could go out and talk about the issues and study the issues and leave the campaign organization to a fine team. And we really had a great team. I know that it's traditional at the time that you win a contest like this, a contest for the highest office, the nomination for the highest office, to give credit to others. But in this case, they deserve it. I think I have the finest campaign organization, tested in the fires of the primaries, now ready to go on to the big battle. And I just want to express my appreciation to them and to the thousands of workers in the primary states.
Mr. Nixon, your political fortune sank pretty low after 1960, and here you are back on top again. How do you explain it?
It's hard for a man to evaluate how he came to a position like this. I think that looking at it as a political observer, that the vacuum that occurred in the Republican Party after the defeat of '64, the fact that I was the major campaigner for the party in 1966, the fact that we had the development in foreign affairs, which put great effect on and great interest in the issue of foreign policy, all of these contributed to making it possible for me to even be considered as a candidate. But then, too, I'm, as you know, somewhat fatalistic about particularly the presidency. I think the presidency seeks the man. I don't mean by that there's an indispensable man. I don't mean that a man is drafted. I mean a man must be ready. But unless it's your time, unless you're the man the country needs and that your party needs it, at that particular point in history, there's no way you can make it. I think the reason I'm here is that I was ready, I was willing, and the events were such that this seemed to be the time that the party wanted me to carry its standard, and I just hope I can be worthy of it in these next few months.
Mr. Nixon, all through these past few weeks, your opponents and indeed most of us on bad days have been using words like erosion and slippage and sliding boats up one way and down the other. And your people just seemed to be very blasé and kept saying 700. Was this locked up all the time and we just didn't find it out, or what?
Well, I actually believe that the nomination was won the night of the Oregon primary. From then on, it was simply a matter of our not making mistakes. Because having gone down the primary road, having come through those primaries, even though our opposition was in absentia for the most part, and in Oregon, of course, there was a great deal spent by the other candidates, but they didn't campaign there. But having done that, it was inevitable that I would be nominated. I think, too, when you ask, has it been locked up since then? Not really. Because if we hadn't had a campaign organization constantly checking the delegates, constantly seeing whether or not they were moving over to another candidate, we could have lost it. But we were up against two very good teams. The Rockefeller team was superb, well organized, well financed. The Reagan team, which came in late in the game, was a very good team. But we had a very good team. And we started out ahead. I simply would say this, that I was being quite candid with you gentlemen of the press when I said over and over again when you asked that it was not locked up. It was not, because we could have lost it. On the other hand, we had it won in Oregon. And all we did was to retain our winnings and retain our position.
Mr. Nixon, have you any preference against whom you would rather run now that the fall campaign is in front of you?
Well, having now been through the process of picking the candidate on the Republican side, I'm not going to get into the contest on the Democratic side. I think I've had enough excitement over the past few months on the Republican side. As far as preference is concerned, I do believe now that Vice President Humphrey has to be the favorite, although in this unpredictable year, something could happen at that convention. I do think, however, that we will win in the fall. I think we're going to win for the very reason that that answer implies, because we're a united party. I was delighted this evening to have calls from Governor Rockefeller right after the vote became known. The Wisconsin vote put us over the top. A call from Governor Romney, and a message came in also from Governor Reagan. This is the way to win it. You see, the beauty of our contest this year was that we won the nomination in a way designed to win the election. We didn't make the mistake of breaking up the California delegation, of breaking up the Ohio delegation, or raiding the Michigan delegation. And in the state of New York also, we respected the Rockefeller position of being the candidate from New York. And I think this will pay off in November. We're going to have a united party. Sure, we've had a real fight It was a good contest, and I'm well aware of that. But we have won it in a way that we're going into that final campaign united. And now the problem of our Democratic friends, when they meet in Chicago, see if they can do the same thing. If they can, then we'll be a very, very tight contest.
Mr. Nixon, thinking back,
Yes, sir.
do you anticipate, going back to 1960, you had a meeting with Governor Rockefeller there to discuss sort of coincidence of views on issues. Do you anticipate another of those will be necessary now?
Well, not only will such a meeting will be necessary, but it will be very appropriate with Governor Rockefeller, Governor Romney, Governor Rhodes, the governors of the major states. I told Governor Rockefeller today that I was very anxious to sit down with him, not only to talk campaign strategy, but to talk about some of the great issues, foreign policy and the policies with regard to the cities in which he is a recognized expert. That's always been my view, that I don't have all the knowledge, and I want the strongest men and the best knowledge that our party can produce. And we're very fortunate to have men like Rockefeller and Reagan and Romney and Rhodes, real powerhouses who can contribute to that. I'll be discussing things with the governor, and I think he'll give me some good views, as will Governor Reagan and the others.
When do you anticipate meeting the governors?
The first week from now on, I will be going to California for meetings with various issue groups. That is, people who will be coming to California to go over the great issues that we're going to have to prepare positions on for the final campaign. And then in the week after that, in other words, the second week, the week before the Democratic Convention is the best way to describe it, I would hope then to begin to see some of the governors of the major states and to start to design the campaign strategy, but also to try to get an exchange of views. Something else I'm interested in, too, is to see if any of them have good men on their campaign staffs that might be available for our campaign. I mentioned that to Governor Rockefeller today, because we're not just winning this nomination as an exclusive club. We want this party to be inclusive. That's the strength of our campaign to date, and that's going to be the strength of our campaign in the final.
Mr. Nixon,
yes,
millions of Americans, of course, are watching and listening right now.
At this hour in the morning, I'm not sure.
You have made it quite clear that you intend not only to unite the Republican Party, but to unite the nation. And I wonder if, in a word, you could give a message to the American people who are still up at this hour watching this dramatic, historic moment. A message that you would want the American people to have at this time.
Well, that message I will go into in more detail when I make my acceptance speech tomorrow night. But in a word tonight, I would say this, that I have tried throughout this campaign for the nomination to talk not just to the Republican Party, but to the nation. I will continue to talk in that vein between now and November, because the problems that we face abroad and at home are simply too big for the usual politics as usual and partisanship as usual. I believe that the problems are so great that we need not only the best thinking of the Republican Party, and that means not only the Nixon people, but the Reagan people and the Rockefeller people and the Romney people, but we also need the best thinking that we can get from all segments of America, including leading members of the Democratic Party. Now, of course, as far as any what we call coalition is concerned, in which we can tap that kind of thinking, that will have to come after the election. But I intend, incidentally, to wage the campaign between now and November in a way that I can unite the nation. I'm not going to change my tactics now. This is not going to be a partisan campaign, Republican versus Democrat. I don't want to say anything in this campaign that will divide America geographically, that will divide it racially, that will divide it on a party basis. Sure, it'll be hard-hitting. I'm going to hit on the issues that I think are right, and I'm going to take on the administration for its failures, and take on its candidate for those failures. On the other hand, I want to win the election in the same way that I won the nomination. Win the election in a way that I can unite the country. It should not be a tough, hard, partisan campaign.
Thank you.
Mr. Nixon,
yes,
we've heard a good bit today about Southern pressures upon you in connection with the vice presidential choice. Are you free tonight to pick anyone you wish for that as a running mate?
Certainly am. As a matter of fact, I won the nomination without having to pay any price, make any deal with any candidate or any individuals representing a candidate. Now, when I meet with the representatives from all over the country, they'll have some strong views. The southern delegates, the northern delegates, the midwestern delegates, and the western delegates. But I will make the decision based on my best judgment as to the man that can work best with me, and that will, I think, perhaps, if he ever has to do that, serve as President of the United States. And when you talk about pressures from southern delegates, let me make it very clear, I've had it from all over the country. I've heard from the Midwesterners have their favorites, and the Northerners have theirs, and the Southerners have theirs. And it's going to be my first hard political decision now is to decide from among the host of good candidates that have been suggested, who's the best man. I think by tomorrow morning, I'll have an announcement on that will be of interest.
Mr. Nixon,
I haven't decided it yet, though.
You reportedly told some of the Southerners that you would not stuff a candidate down their throats that would not be acceptable to them. And some of them interpret that as meaning that it would not be Lindsay or it would not be Hatfield.
Well, how anybody would interpret what I say, of course, is something that only they could respond to. But let me say that I have made that same statement to delegations from the northern states as well, because I want a candidate who does not divide this country for vice president any more than I divided as a candidate for president. And so I don't intend to pick a candidate for the vice presidency that will be unacceptable, for example, to the eastern states, the big city states, any more than I pick a candidate that will be unacceptable to the southern states. But when you get to how many there are, I think there are very few that are in the category that somebody's going to veto them. I think we've got a big field to choose from.
Mr. Nixon, are you still planning to see Governor Dewey and...
Yes, and that's why we have to knock this meeting off, because Governor Dewey, Governor Goldwater, the two former candidates are here, along with a number of party leaders. And then tomorrow morning we will meet with the elected party officials, Ray Bliss, the chairman of the Senate and House campaign committees, the Republican leaders, the House and Senate.
One last question, if I might.
Yeah.
Mrs. Nixon, you haven't been heard from yet. Could we have your feelings on this dramatic moment?
Well, I can just say that it's been a tremendously exciting time, and we're very tired because it's late, but we're happy.
Well, let me add, can I add one word there? I personally think when I talk about my campaign team that nobody has ever had a family team that was of greater assistance than the Nixon family. I can say that. So thank you. Thank you.
End of a short news conference conducted by the new Republican nominee, the Republican candidate for the presidency in 1968. And for a moment the lights went off, and now they're back on in the news conference room. And for the last moments, the Nixon family poses for pictures. Herbert Kaplow, NBC News, at the Hilton Plaza Hotel.
So we have heard from the principal, winner and the loser. Governor Reagan of California appeared before the convention a little earlier and acknowledged his defeat and actually made a motion that the choice of Mr. Nixon be made unanimous. But apparently there must be some rule this year in the convention which precludes that, because two such motions were simply bypassed and overlooked. We shall hear from our four floor reporters in a moment, but first, NBC's coverage of the convention will continue after this message from Gulf.
We've heard from almost everybody in the Republican Party tonight over the course of almost 12 hours here in this convention hall. It is now adjourned, of course, including the winner and the two major losers. Now we're going to hear, finally, before we wrap this up and go home, we're going to hear from our four reporters on the floor. You there?
Yes, I think we are. Can you hear us? I thought for a minute you were going to say you're about to hear from four losers.
No, no, winners. Four winners.
I think what was interesting tonight was the fact that there seemed to be, at the very end, very little coordination between the Rockefeller and the Reagan forces. When Senator Edward Brooke of Massachusetts told NBC that he thought that the Reagan people were going to call for a recess, we checked it with the Reagan people who looked, the Reagan floor manager here, James Halley, looked at me with shock and alarm and said, no comment. And you can tell that they were, each one was hoping the other would have this 11th hour delay. And of course, it never happened.
There were more rumors tonight in this convention than on an excursion trip of Mata Haris on the Orient Express. Everywhere you went, somebody was dumping. I came down here, and a guy in a gray flannel suit and a walkie-talkie came up and said, have you heard Strom Thurmond is being given a veto power on the Secretary of State and Secretary of Defense? I said, no. Have they really promised? He said, yes. I said, where are you from? He said, Senator Percy's camp.
Did you hear about the California industrialist who's going to be Secretary of Defense?
Let's just check this one out. What time did you hear that rumor, Sandy? I picked it up, I think, around 6 o'clock this evening, and then we tried to check it out about the veto thing. Let's see how long these rumors stay alive.
I heard it at 12 o'clock going this way and at 12:05 going that way.
And what was that about somebody being offered the Secretaryship of Defense?
Yeah, well,
I never heard that one.
No, there was one that was down here about a California industrialist being offered the Secretaryship of Defense as part of a package deal so rococo and baroque that I cannot recall it right now.
Well, we had this rumor going, too, about Senator Mark Hatfield. It was supposed to throw fear into the Southern camp, and Treen of Louisiana seemed to me to make good sense, and it's kind of hard to find good sense sometimes under these circumstances, but when we went to him with this idea, he says, why does he need to do that? He says he's already got that Oregon delegation for 2 ballots solid. Why would he have to do that? And it's kind of refreshing once in a while to find a man who can keep his finger on some of the realities when all the confusion is going on. I rather enjoyed talking to him.
Of course, a rumor could have grown out of what Senator Strom Thurmond told one of you fellas, too. He probably overstated it a bit. He did imply, it seemed to me, that he was going to personally review the vice presidential possibilities. Now, someone who might have heard that or talked to somebody else who had have heard it, that could have easily been expanded into a good rumor, couldn't it?
Well, it is possible that Thurmond got a mistaken impression from Nixon so far as that goes. That's by no means out of the question. It's equally possible that he was led to believe that he would have a good deal of influence in what happened.
You know, getting back to what happened here tonight, I must say 2 things. One, I think this is about the slickest political operation I have ever seen, and that includes the John F. Kennedy operation in 1960 in Los Angeles. And secondly, I think we have witnessed a really remarkable chapter in the long political life of Richard Nixon. When you imagine that this man was considered out in 1960 by a narrow margin, defeated in California, and said he would never hold another press conference with the reporters. Nothing really in 1964 except acting as a unifier for the party. And here he is, once again, the nominee of his party. What everyone feels about Mr. Nixon, some people like him, some don't. I think everyone must agree that this is a remarkable testimonial to his political sagacity and his determination.
I watched the balloting with Howard Callaway, with Bo Callaway from Georgia, who was his Southern Regional Chairman. And Bo Callaway was tallying against a list they already had. And he called the outcome, I think, about at the 40th state. And I don't think he was more than 3 votes off.
No, they were off. I was down at Ohio watching Rhodes and Andrews keeping their tally, and they were off in a couple of states, Mississippi for sure. Now, just what they had in mind for Mississippi and what actually happened there that made them off, I haven't been able to determine yet. But they were off in Mississippi, and they had made some mistakes in their calculations earlier. Here's an idea I'd like to try out. The only movement, if there was any movement at all, that we saw in this up to this stage in this convention was right after Reagan announced openly and formally that he was a candidate. This sent a flurry through the South. Now, the remarkable performance, it seems to me, was how the Nixon people were able to contain that in the South that was vital to them, and where Reagan has so much appeal, where their hearts keep saying Reagan and their minds keep saying Nixon, you know. It's awfully hard when you can get the mind to really hold firm over the heart like that. And I had the feeling that this thing began to fall apart as far as Rockefeller and Reagan were concerned, about 6:30 this evening, seemed to be an awareness seeping through them that they were off, that they wouldn't make it. Of course, they couldn't say so.
Well, don't you agree that they want him more? They want him more as a vice presidential candidate than they wanted him as presidential.
The South would prefer Reagan as a vice presidential candidate.
Yes.
I think you're probably right about that. A number of them indicated that tonight. They think Reagan would give the ticket a tremendous boost. But equally, I think there's some doubt in the South that Reagan has sufficiently demonstrated that he is a national winner. And for that reason, as you say, they would prefer him in second place on the ticket.
No, nevertheless, it was my firm impression, and I'd like to ask the rest of you if you've shared this, that if this convention did not nominate Richard Nixon, it would have nominated Ronald Reagan and not Rockefeller. What do you think, Frank?
No, I don't think so.
I think so.
We'll never prove it. I don't have any idea. The main thing is this party wanted unity. It has unity, and we just ought to add parenthetically that Richard Nixon is now meeting with the leaders of this party, but they're not going any longer there as people that he has to promise or suggest anything. They're going as supplicants in a sense. He is the winner now, and they come to treat with him.
Yes, but of course, if he wants to maintain the party unity that he has built with such cost and care, then he must pay attention to what they want.
We'll pay attention, but all of them said tonight, remember when we were doing these interviews, all of them said, now of course, it's his decision to make.
That's right.
All of them, remember, especially the Southerners?
Yes.
Let me try something else on you.
All right.
Did it occur to you fellows throughout the week that we kept reporting, saying in effect that this thing could be pretty close, and I wondered many times throughout the week, were we being taken into camp? Were we having our legs pulled in a grand fashion? And were we overdoing this? And frankly, I was relieved the way it turned out.
Chet?
We weren't. There was a contest there.
There was a contest, but there's only one rule to political reporting, it seems to me. Before the balloting, it's always nip and tuck, and after the balloting, the outcome was never in doubt.
Well,
anyhow,
when you stop to figure there, though, there was only 25 votes margin there when you got down to the end of the line. And just a little slippage up there in the front end of that roll call could have made a tremendous difference. Take 12 and a half votes away and add them on to Rockefeller's or somebody else's.
But there was a scent of victory from the moment we got down here. We tried to find it, shake it. Sure, you can try to figure out which camp is lying the most, but ever since all of us arrived here, you could just feel it. It was intangible. And that's the way it is in all conventions.
But sometimes that is artificially generated, Sandy, as you well know.
Yes.
You can almost buy it in bottles.
Well, I think there is something...
And wave it under people's noses.
I think there is something we ought to say about ourselves and about the Associated Press polls and the New York Times polls. And I have a feeling they had an effect on the delegates as well here to hold the Nixon support, if not to build it.
I would just like to say one more thing about the vice presidency. Two more things, really. I suspect that the reason Thurman thinks he has a veto is that Nixon has promised everybody that he will not accept as his running mate anybody who is unacceptable to any section of the country, which in effect gives the South veto, gives the North a veto, gives the West a veto, and so on.
Superman for vice president.
Who could survive a test like that?
Well, I don't know, but that's what he's committed to finding.
Excuse me, Reagan, perhaps you've already reported this, but as he left the platform tonight was saying again that his recommendation was Rhodes of Ohio, the man who held out.
Can I end this all by saying, fellas, it was just swell. We must do it again soon.
We'll talk about that tomorrow night.
We shall be back with the grand finale for this evening. But right now, a message from Gulf.
Well, you said something about a grand finale. If you're counting on me for it, don't, because I'm too tired. It might be a finale, but it certainly will not be grand. We've been here, 12 hours? 12 hours in this booth. We've heard a few more speeches than any of the delegates in the hall cared to hear. They finally did nominate a candidate, but they certainly put the Republican delegates through the hoops before they got around to it. Nominated 12 people, of whom only 3 truly were candidates. Let's see. Tonight, sometime during this morning, Nixon and a lot of the Republicans will meet somewhere in his hotel and discuss the vice presidency. They will discuss it. He will listen, and he will then decide. And he says tomorrow morning, it didn't say what time, sometime tomorrow morning he will have an announcement that we may find of interest, meaning the name of the vice president. And in these cases, the presidential nominee always says, I will recommend to the convention the name of whoever it is. And that's it. The convention always accepts it. And tomorrow night, there will be the nomination of the vice president, which is pro forma once the name is given to them. The vice president's acceptance speech, so as to get that out of the way first. Then the presidential nominee's acceptance speech. And then a great show of unity, harmony up on the rostrum. And that'll be that. And we'll be here, what time do they say?
7 o'clock tomorrow morning with the Today program, of course, and then 7 o'clock tomorrow night again for the final session immediately following the news.
Well, that wasn't it, but it wasn't very grand, but that was a finale. Good night.
Good night, Al.
Stay with NBC News for continuing color coverage of the Republican convention.